We're going to get started here in just a minute.
Cool. I can hop in. Yeah, my name's Steven Rosenberg. I been part of Unshakable Man for over 2 years now, almost going on 2.5. I joked recently that I'm in New York City, by the way, New York. And yeah, I joked recently that I don't even think it was so much me finding Chris and the Unshakable Man as it was I don't know, the Unshakable Man finding me. I kind of got involved in a roundabout way, but I'm super glad that I did. It's brought a lot of healing and growth over the past couple of years, and I absolutely love just being able to do this work and to hold space for men and have space held for me, and I'm looking forward to watching the community grow over the years.
Thanks, man.
My name is Benjamin Roth. I am based in Los Angeles. I came across the Unshakable Man community in about like 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago, when I was desiring more depth from the men's groups that I've been a part of. And was just immediately blown away by this community's practice of slowing down and just like the men that were a part of the community. So yeah, just been kind of showing up to one of the Monday check-in groups pretty regularly, and just excited to continue to be part of the community and see how it grows in this new chapter for it.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Ben. Jim, do you want to go ahead and...
Yeah, sure. My name is Jim Burke. I live in San Francisco. I actually live almost around the corner from Chris, although we've never encountered each other in the neighborhood. Well, maybe we did before we knew each other, but not since. I have just attended a retreat, which was a very intense and moving experience, which I'm still trying to understand exactly what the heck happened. But I inspired enough from that to try to find out more about the organization. I too desire a stronger, deeper connection with other men. I'm at this stage of my life, I find myself becoming increasingly isolated, which is something that has kind of dogged me for a while. And I think also, like a lot of men that I've encountered, there's a lot of baggage from my life that I have not really dealt with, and I'm looking to find ways to do that, and I'm hoping that the Unshakable Man might help me with that, and we'll see. But I'm just right now interested in finding out everything I can.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much for being here, you guys, and thank you so much for supporting this presentation right now. I'd like to bring in the men who might be listening to this later, and just right in this moment, in your next breath, I'd just like you to open and take a single soup breath. You might have already gone past your next breath, but what a soup breath is it's a breath like you just walked in the house and you realize somebody is cooking something wonderful. How do you breathe? Or if somebody's cooking some soup on the stove and you lean over to savor it, how do you take a breath? And so welcome, our Embodied Leadership Training Masterclass has just begun. So in this presentation, we're going to go over how to become the powerful embodied leader of your life, your work, and your relationships that you are meant to be in 6 months using the Unshakable Man method without trying to act tough, stressing out, or pretending to have it all figured out. This is a really big statement, okay? This is what this presentation, I stand by this statement. I am going to show you how to become the powerful embodied leader of your life, your work, and your relationships that you are meant to be in 6 months using the Unshakable Man method without trying to act tough, stressing out, or pretending to have it all figured out. Okay? I invite you guys to take notes, and I invite you to watch this entire presentation before we jump on a program intake call or before you show up or apply for one of our men's retreats. This presentation is being put together on purpose because we have brought men through this process over the past 5 years. And this process is from a direct experience. What I'm saying here comes from a direct physical experience in my life and the men that are in this presentation here. We have done this, and we are giving this presentation as a guide, okay, as a how-to guide, because we appreciate how big a deal it is to show up and to do this work. And so to begin, I just want to take in some photos from our last retreat, okay? Go ahead and just take in these photos. And as you do this, a picture is worth 1,000 words. But what you might notice is me, that's me in the red flannel shirt, standing in front of a man. And I'm reading this man a statement. And I'm not going to read this statement out loud because I want to save this statement for you if you arrive at one of our retreats. But what this statement does is it honors a man into a default, out of their default life. It invites this man into a liminal space, a space where things can be different, where he can grow, where he can learn new things. And each man that listens to this statement has to say, yes, I am in. He has to say, yeah, I want to do this. Okay? And I just want you to notice right now if there's any sensations on or in your body that make you feel challenged or scared or inspired or curious, whatever you are feeling, because it's not necessarily bad or good, but what it is sensational. It's like, wow, something is happening here, something important. I am being called up into answer the call to show up in my life in a different way. And this always happens one human being at a time. It happens one human being, one nervous system to one nervous system. And this presentation right now, through the internet, online, on your sofa at home, in your car, wherever you are listening to this presentation is acting as a vehicle to do the same thing that I am doing with these men in these images. And I want you to feel the gravity of this, okay? I'm inviting you to move past this just being another presentation online, right? Like another Zoom call. All right, let's dive in. Go ahead and take another deep breath in your nose and out your mouth. A recent 85-year Harvard study was published in 2023 that found that the #1 thing that makes us happy in life is social fitness. The #1 thing, an 85-year study found that the #1 thing is social fitness. This is contrary to what you might think. It's not career achievement, it's not money, it's not exercise or a healthy diet. The most consistent findings we've learned through 85 years of study is that positive relationships keep us happier, healthier, and help us live longer, period. Period. A 40-year study of PhDs at UC Berkeley found that emotional intelligence was 400% more powerful than IQ when predicting who would have success in their field. A 40-year study found that emotional intelligence is more important, okay? 30 years ago, a majority of men, 55%, reported having at least 6 friends. But today, that number is cut in half. Men are in an epidemic of loneliness. But we need other men in our lives to help us grow. 58% of men think that society expects them to be emotionally strong and not show weakness. So the culture of manhood says that vulnerability is weakness. So how do we grow if we can't be vulnerable? Right? Like here we are on one end, we know that being socially, having strong relationships and being emotionally open and connected will lead to being happy and successful. Yet the culture of manhood is telling us that we already need to have it. So there's a brick wall right in front of us, right? And to get through that brick wall, we have to cut through some very strong social, emotional, and cultural scaffolding. Okay, so the number one thing that we have to cut through, the number one myth is the lone wolf myth. What this myth says is that men who go it alone are something to look up to. Do you guys notice this myth, the guys who are listening? The lone wolf myth is stronger than the lone wolf myth says that men who are lone wolves are stronger than a wolf in a pack. Right? Like, I want you to imagine this, right? Like you see images of this in our culture, right? The lone wolf myth says that I can learn what I need to learn on my own. Ben, Stephen, Jim, go ahead and let me know if this is syncing up with you guys in the chat. The lone wolf myth says, I don't need anyone or anything to train with. Okay, so the lone wolf myth is destructive because men who go it alone are less adaptable, they're less resilient, and they die earlier. The lone wolf men have no one to co-regulate with. Our nervous systems need other nervous systems in order to down-regulate, in order to come into a state of rest and digest. We have adapted in tribes. And so there is an actual cultural message being put on men that says that you can do it alone. And if you do it alone, you are actually more manly. Jim says, I've been a loner my entire life, even when I'm in a relationship with someone else. Okay, but this is what we are cutting through, right? So the seed of truth here, because all of these myths come from some seed of truth, is that you are on your own in this work. Ben, you're on your own. Stephen, you're on your own. Jim, you're on your own. Me, I'm on my own. But no one can save me. No one can do this for me. I have to take personal responsibility to do this work. No one can make me do it. So there's a seed of truth there, right? That lone wolf seed is there, but you're not alone. You have to do it on your own, but you're not alone, right? So it's a destructive choice to actually separate yourself from others for too long. Yeah, it's a really amazing masculine challenge to go out into the woods and to be alone for 5 days. Right? And yet, I do need a team to return to share that experience and to give back to. This is what self-leadership training is. And you don't do it alone, you do it in a group. The second myth, okay, the second myth that we have to cut through, that brick wall, is the hard man myth. Okay, this is the hard man myth. What the hard man myth is it says, I need to be hard in order to be purposeful, powerful, and present. I need to be hard. Like I just flexed my body, right? Like I'm creating, I'm somebody, I need to be a shield. I need to wall myself off, or I need to push away things that are challenging me in my life. In order to experience my life and to thrive, I need to be hard. How many of you who are listening right now feel like you can see an image of how this is portrayed in the media or on Instagram or in your relationships that tells you, I need to be hard. I need to be able to do 100 push-ups. I need to be able to lift heavy weights. I need to be able to be scary. I need to be able to be, to hurt someone or to be dangerous in order to be a man. I'm seeing heads nod up and down. It also says, I am not a part of the environment. I conquer the environment. That's what this image that is put on manhood that comes from our culture, from story and belief systems that says, I need to come to the new world and conquer the land, conquer the people. It exists. Or it turns into, I'm a hero. I'm an image to uphold. I'm stoic. I'm solid. I'm proud. Okay. It also says, I protect others because I look tough or because I am tough. These myths are tied up in a knot. Okay. It's destructive because if you take on this myth fully, then what you do is you harden against your environment. You push back against it. Okay. I want to be very specific here. This leads to stress, anxiety, trauma, heart failure, inflexibility, rigidity. Okay. Holding on to this too hard is a protective mechanism. It disconnects us from our bodies and it disconnects us from the world around us. Hardening actually requires energy to uphold. So the man who is holding this hard egoic mask, right? He is actually fueling that up as a protective mechanism. Okay. Hard men quickly become acts of toughness that must be maintained in order to be valued. I want to say this while also recognizing how challenging this is. Okay. Because the seed of truth here is that the hard way leads to disconnection and the open way leads to growth and expansion. But both are challenging. One leads to connection to yourself and to others, and the other leads to more disconnection. It's a paradox to manage, not a problem to solve. We're constantly returning to being open when we notice that we've hardened. Okay? What happens is we see an image of a young man might see an image of me, and I might actually do this. It's not about me, it's about him and what he is interpreting and what he sees in me. He might see me standing upright. He might see me doing pull-ups and push-ups. He might see me lifting heavy weights. And then he says, oh, I see that in Chris Wilson, so I need to emulate that in order to be like him. But what he doesn't see is that underneath, I'm also creating a space in my life in order to open. I'm also meditating. I'm also coming into my body. Maybe that morning I cried. Maybe that morning I had soft, intimate connection with my partner, right? This is a paradox to manage. It's not a problem to solve. The next thing I want to say about the hardening is that the hardening is autonomic. It happens unconsciously. It happens because the nervous system automatically responds to threat in order to protect the body. You can consciously bring your awareness into the hardening and then choose to open. And that's what we're doing here in embodied leadership training with men. We're coming into the explicit hardening on the body with our implicit awareness, and we're learning to open into it. We're learning how to integrate that. So the third myth that we have to cut through is the intellect and understanding myth. Okay, this is the intellect and understanding myth. The intellect and understanding myth says that the more intellectual I am, the more I'll be able to connect. What this means is if I understand what's happening for my partner, if I go read a book about it, if I take a class on it, and I understand why she is angry, I'm going to be able to connect with her. It has nothing to do with understanding, right? I could have a PhD in this stuff, and that's not going to help me connect with my partner. Understanding is greater than or is experiencing. I'm going to say that again. The myth says that understanding something in my head is greater than or actually is experiencing it. And that this is huge for guys. This is huge for men when you come into this work. Thinking is not feeling. Feeling is felt in the body. It is sensual. It is not a thought. It is experiential. It is in the body. It is not in your head. The more you are able to through the direct experience, to develop awareness of this, the more expansive and powerful you will become. The intellect and understanding myth says, if I understand, I will feel something. It says, if I understand you, I'm going to feel connected to you. If I understand you, I'm going to feel comfortable. Very often, what ends up happening is we are trying to understand someone so we can feel comfortable. But what actually ends up happening is the more I try to understand them, the less comfortable I become, the more into my head I am, and the more they feel misunderstood. The way we actually do this, the way we actually connect with that person is we let go of needing to understand them, and we open to being with what we are experiencing. We get comfortable being uncomfortable. We get comfortable being able to not understand them. We find the ability to be with them, to connect with them at an autonomic level, at a nervous system level. And then all of a sudden, we're open, our mind is more open to divergent ways of thinking. And now, because I can be with them experientially, my thoughts and my beliefs about the experience can shift and change. I'm actually able to empathize with this person. The last thing I'll say about the intellect understanding myth is that it says, when I understand something, it is valid. When I don't understand it, it's not valid. This disconnects us. This is what happens where different religious practices, different belief systems, then actually start not thinking each other are not valid, when we're all coming from the same place to create an experience which allows us to connect to everyone and everything. If what you are working on in this work is not connecting you to people who are different than you and to things that are different than you, check in with this, because this work, this can only be discerned by you. This work, my intention with this work, notice how I didn't say should. My intention with this work is that this work connects you to yourself, to the environment, and to everyone and everything. And that includes people who you assume or you judge to be different than you. And so where this myth is destructive is that it intellectualizes our experience versus experiencing our experience. So in our groups, when we practice together, what you'll find is that when we arrive in the space, we are not there to understand what is happening in the space. We are actually there to learn to work with and to be with what's happening in the space. Later, we might talk about it in order to intellectualize the experience that we've already had, okay? It tricks us into thinking that we already read, that if we read or understand something, we know what it's like to do it. This is what YouTube does. This is why YouTube is so addictive for people. If I watch a YouTube video of somebody fishing, or if I watch a YouTube video of somebody building a table, it triggers the same part of the brain as if I had made the table, as if I actually made the item. This gives me the concept that I might be able to actually build the table. This is constructive if you actually get off the couch and go try to build the table. It's destructive when you assume that because you watched it, you actually know how to do it, and you don't actually go embody building a table, realize that you don't actually know how to build a table, feel the frustration of not being able to build the table, and move through the emotional experience of being a beginner, and then get the dopamine hit later of actually building the table. This is why embodied leadership training is the most valuable form of training that you can invest your energy, time, and money and resources in. That is why I'm giving you this presentation. That is why the Unshakable Man community and the Unshakable Man program works, okay? It's because embodied practice transcends talking about things, thinking about things, therapy, talk therapy. Unless your practice, unless what you're doing is an embodied practice, it goes the bottom up, okay? We can talk about this a lot more in the community, or if you schedule a program intake call. All right, so the seed of truth here is that words, art, poetry, and this presentation are all, and facts are incredibly important tools in our toolbox to connect and to share, but they are only signposts pointing in the direction of an experience that can only be and must be felt through the body. Okay, that was a lot. So the seed of truth here, okay, with the myth of understanding is that this presentation, right, like this presentation right here is pointing like a signpost for you to directly experience something, right? So go ahead and take a breath in your nose, out your mouth, come into your body. What's happening on or in your body? You're having a present experience while taking in this presentation, okay? This presentation is pointing you, has been put together with words and facts in order to point you toward an experience. And that's the Unshakable Man program. That's going to a retreat. That's signing up to be in one of our crews, okay? That's what these types of teachings do, okay? That's where it's useful, but it's destructive when you confuse it as actually having done the work, right? So if you're here, now I want to just check in with you and find out, like, are you in the right place, okay? Because if you are wanting to perform, to be more powerful and supportive, if you want to have a more powerful and supportive group of men in your life, this is the right place for you. You might be feeling stuck or unfulfilled in your personal or professional life. You might be struggling to build strong, healthy relationships. You might be drowning in the pressure of work and always being on. You might be working to be your best in work, life, and relationships. Or you might be searching to find purpose and direction. Or my favorite one, you might be becoming an unshakable man. Guys, how many of these did you agree with before joining the Unshakable Man, or do you agree with right now? Embodied leadership training is for men who are seeking to slow down and to be present in their life. They're wanting self-discipline, support, and accountability. You want to deepen your connection to your true self. You want to cultivate deeper purpose and meaning in your life. You want to heal stress, pain, and trauma that's holding you back from showing up fully in your life and your relationships and your work. You want to overcome doubts and fears and insecurities to build an intentional and purposeful life and relationships. You want to be a real leader. You don't want to be an egoic mask wearer. You don't want to pretend. You don't want to try to achieve external success or authority in order to protect yourself. You actually want to go seek all of these things in order to be more whole, more open, more powerful, and then to do that in service of others, to protect others, to care for others, and to connect with others. Okay, that is what this training is for. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go through over the next 15 minutes. We're going to move briskly, but we're going to move through our testimonials, my story. I'm going to answer for you what embodied leadership training is. And I'm going to go through my favorite way to go through what embodied leadership training 101 is. And then we're going to jump into the Unshakable Man program. We're going to have some time for some Q&A. I'm going to leave you with where we're getting started, what the next step is, if this stuff is curious to you, okay? If this stuff feels connected. These testimonials, Ben, I love that you're actually here on the call right now. These testimonials are words from men who have been down a path before you, okay? I've highlighted the words and phrases that they've actually used, and I'm not going to read the entire testimonial. What I'm going to do is just read out almost rhythmically the phrases that come from these men. And the reason why is because these are the words, these are the way they have described going on a somatic, embodied journey with a group of other men and how it has shaped them, how it has changed them, how it has helped them, okay? And I'm going to do this briskly, and I invite you to just close your eyes and to just listen to me, or to just watch the screen, but allow yourself to just take these in and to connect with what these men have shared. Somatic self-leadership training was this somatic self-leadership training program was one that was deeply nourishing and necessary to my life and well-being. Developing self-leadership alongside a group of supportive men is truly a gift. If I could use a word to describe the program, it would be powerful. It was an experience I didn't know I needed, but ultimately gained a ton from. He didn't know he needed it. I signed up for the program because Chris is a friend, and I thought I'd be helping him out. What ended up happening was I helped myself out. There was a strong bond among all the men who attended, and we did some serious work to help ourselves, each other and ourselves through our lives. I was immediately inspired with their bravery, their commitment to be all in, and their willingness to explore their edges. This was one of the most significant experiences of my life, one that has helped me find very solid footing, allowing me to stand fully in my power at the age of 57 in this new stage of my life. I was flailing in water and wasn't connected to my emotions at all. It taught me to slow down and drop into my body so that I could truly understand what I am feeling. This was amazing. Accountability is always done in a caring manner, in a way that leads me to the choices I want to make. Many men think that accountability is about shame, is about force. But what you find when a man comes into this work is that accountability is really about being with him in his experience and giving him the space to really tap into his integrity and to decide, is this important to me? Okay, I'm going to move more briskly through these, but this man he says, I was introduced to this community through a close friend, because we find our way to this work through other connections. This has helped one man, and then he says, hey, this has helped me. So if you're on this presentation, you're listening to this, it's a big deal for you to actually show up and to answer the call, to move through these things. The tools and experiential knowledge I learned still prove to be invaluable today, and something I feel like I can build on for a lifetime. A course personally tailored to the areas I want to focus on. I think that this is really interesting because what he's saying is that he's going to build on what he learned for a lifetime. And he is. In 6 months, you can go from discovering something that's really going to change your life, and then you get to practice it for the rest of your life. And then he thinks that this was personally tailored to him. But really what this has done is this was a co-created space where he was able to open, and then where he witnessed other men, and where those men have practiced guiding him. And so we learn in relationship. All right, I'm going to move through these. I'm just going to pause on each one in case you want to look at them. But expanding their lives and getting past difficult points in their lives and support. It guides you to be your own best friend, to honor your feelings and desires, needs, to have the courage and to be valuable with others. It helped me tune into my emotions and experience my body. And then I want you to just, I didn't know that play. That's awesome. I'd love it if you would go to unshakableman.com/testimonials, and you can see all of these testimonials from real men who have been through the program, and you can take in their words. I highly, highly suggest going and paying attention to and taking in some of these testimonials before you show up in a program intake call. Okay, don't take my word for it. Go listen to what these men have shared. Okay. This is my way of co-creating this space with you, is using other men's words to point in the direction of what this work does, because embodied leadership training is done in relationship. Okay, I'm going to just move through these testimonials just so that we have some more time here. And now me, how did I get here? Okay, I came into this work from having a massive anxiety attack. Before finding out about this work, before having any a conscious awareness of what embodied leadership training is, I was, to be completely honest, perfectly, I might say fat, dumb, and happy, but I wasn't fat. I was actually in some of the best shape of my life, but I worked out from a place of channeling my anxiety. Working out for me was about hurting my body. It was about I had no other place to put what was going on in my experience. I had forced myself to show up in a role working as a software sales guy, thinking if I didn't do well at this job, what other purpose do I have in life? And I wasn't even consciously aware of it. I worked out of a place of fear. And then one day when I achieved what I had always thought I looked up to doing, which was getting my dream job at a big company in San Francisco and moving to this office and opening it up. I was there in that space where I was most comfortable. And all of a sudden, in the space that I was most comfortable in, my body started to tingle. I started to get a rash all around my face. I ran to the bathroom. I came back into a presentation. I tried to push it away. It came back up. I didn't know what was happening. I literally thought I was going to die. And I had a massive panic attack in the office in front of 11 other people in a boardroom. It was embarrassing. It was scary. I had to go home. And then I kept trying to go back. I kept trying to fix myself. I kept trying to figure out what was wrong with me. And I found myself not being able to go back into the environment that I was in, because that entire environment was built around this image of what it meant to be, identify as a man, to be tough, to be a provider, to be in this box, to push things away. And I didn't even know it. It wasn't until I ended up finding a job working for a program called Uncollege. And the reason why I think I got this job is because I didn't go to college. I quit college in my second year of college and to race bikes. And I had gone on this journey that I thought was different. And I thought, I'm going to go try to get this job as the learner in residence at College. And I moved into a program with a group of 100 high school students for a year-long program. And I would teach them social emotional learning. And what was the main thing we did in that program was we did circles. We sat in a circle with a group of high school students, and we did all different kinds of workshops. And then one day, a man that I met through that program invited me to come and to host a men's retreat. This men's retreat was completely out of my norm. I had no idea that men's retreats even existed. And he invited me to host it with him, to actually create this men's retreat. His name was Mike Sagoon. He had turned into being my best friend at that stage of my life. I showed up at that men's retreat, and lo and behold, I found out I didn't even want to invite the men in my life to be at the men's retreat because I was too scared of how weird it would be. I had no idea what it would be like. So I felt more comfortable inviting people I didn't know. And I showed up at the men's retreat, and 3 men who had previously worked for me in that environment had signed up that I didn't even know had signed up. And I just had this massive realization in that moment that I had been blocking myself from connecting with these men because I didn't know how to connect with myself. Was putting all of this unconscious energy into putting up a facade, and I didn't even know it. Okay. That was the day 9 years ago. 9 years ago. I'm 39 now. So yeah, 9 years ago. Wow. That happened. And that was my big realization. And now 10,000 hours of this work later, I have sat in men's groups. I have hosted men's retreats. I've put on programs. I've worked with men one-on-one. I've completely and utterly devoted my energy and awareness to this work because I know from my direct physical experience, I don't just believe this, from my direct physical experience, that when a man commits to this work for 6 months of his life, he learns something that changes all of his lives and relationships, and that passes on to everyone and everything that he does. And that's my fiance, Anna, over there, who supports me in all of these things that I do. And that's how we get to this picture, guys. I really, wow, I didn't think, it feels really amazing to be emotional right now looking at this picture. But this picture, to be able to learn how to create a space where 25 men are able to show up and to create a brave space where any and all emotions can be present, where we can learn how to work with what is in the space. Everything brought me to that place, to where this picture could be taken. And this is what the Unshakable Man program is. And so this presentation is about how to become the powerful, embodied leader of your life, your work, and your relationships that you are meant to be in just 6 months, using the Unshakable Man method without trying to act tough, stressing out, or pretending to have it all figured out. This really, truly is the message that I'm standing by, that we can teach you this because we are doing it right now. Okay. So what is it? What is embodied self-leadership training? An unshakable man is able to open to be with the experience of his life as it is. Notice in that statement, to be able to open to be with the experience of his life as it is. That is what an unshakable man is. This means you can actually close. You can push away your experience. Embodied leadership training is any form of practicing tools and skills to slow down and drop out of your head and egoic patterns so you can drop into your body and learn to respond to your life and relationships in a more empowering way. This is highly creative work, and it's any form of practicing tools and skills to slow down and drop out of your head and egoic patterns, and to get into your body so you can learn to respond to your life and relationships in a more empowering way. This is real leadership training. I'd love it if you would just take a deep breath with me. We've got 10 minutes left. We're going to use every minute of it. Embodied Leadership Training 101. So this is where it starts, guys. I bring this is This is not a script. This is a practice. This is a ritual to go through. And so I want you to notice this. You survived to get here, okay? You survived. Along the way, you developed protective parts in order to survive. That is what you and I went through. If you don't feel connected with that, if you're challenging that, then you're not ready to move forward. We need to talk about what that means for you, okay? But you survived to get here. Along the way, you developed protective parts in order to survive. I don't know what you're feeling. You don't know what I'm feeling. You are the only person who can report on your experience. I am the only person who can report on my experience. If you don't know how to report on it, you're not bad at it. It just means you've been poorly trained. That's all that it is. In order to become a master of reporting on your experience, of working with your experience, you need a space to train. The space that you're training in cannot be the space where you're racing. It cannot be game day. Game day is your life. Game day is in the morning with your partner. Game day is at work with your boss. Game day is when you're having a fight with your kids. Game day is when you're going through a divorce. Game day is when you feel deeply alone and you have no friends in your life and you're wondering how you got here. Game day is when you have a ton of friends in your life and you feel completely alone, okay? Game day is your default life and relationships. You actually need a space, okay? That space is a physical environment where you can train, where you can practice, so you can learn a skill and then bring it out into your default life and relationships. That's what we do here at the Unshakable Man. We teach men to create that space. We co-create it together. We bring you through it and out the other end. And then if you really want to take this work on, you come back into it and you help guys create that experience. Just like Ben, just like Stephen on this call right here today. These guys have been in this program and been in this community for over a year. And now they're in the space, bringing men like you who might be listening to this back through it. So the quality of this space really matters, okay? Because the quality of the space will directly affect your experience. And the quality of the space is made up of who is co-creating the space with you, and are they aware of the three most important qualities of the space? Because I can only speak for the Unshakable Man community, but in our community, we are not telling you how to be a man. I am not telling you that this way of being a man is the right way and this way of being a man is the wrong way. I am not telling you that being a man is being straight or being gay or not being gay or not being straight or having kids or protecting your family or not having a family. I am creating a space, and I'm speaking for myself here, where men can practice people who identify or have been socialized as male and want to be embodied masculine leaders in their life and relationships, where they can practice tools and skills to find out how they can be fully expressed human beings. That's it, okay? The three most important qualities to do that are confidentiality versus secrecy. The space has to be confidential, but not a secret. If it turns into a secret, it becomes a cult, okay? That's the rule, right? If it turns into a secret, it becomes a secret society. This is not a secret society. We want you to take what you learn here out of the space. The second most important thing is the intention of the space. And that's what I just said, right? My intention is to create a space where I can practice tools and skills to slow down and to get out of my head and egoic patterns and to get into my body, where I can learn to respond and to show up to my life and relationships in a more empowering way. That's it. That's my intention. It's not to tell you how to be a man. It's not to understand or intellectualize the work or to become a therapist or to become a doctor. It's to learn how to embody and show up. And the last one is the paradox of that space, or the paradox of safe space. There's lots of different ways to talk about this, but the key is that the space is not a safe space. The space is a brave space. And the reason why this is important is that once you start creating these spaces, it's very, very easy to start to use the tools to not be disturbed. Meaning, I want the space to be a space where I always feel good, or where we're only trying to feel joyful. And then that becomes its own form of toxic positivity, right? So what we do is we set a different intention, and that's for the space to be brave, which means the space is a space where everyone in the space knows how to reinstate safety when it's lost, or is committed to doing their best to do that. What this creates is an elastic space, a space where it's okay to make mistakes, a space where we all know that making mistakes is part of doing this work, and we're actually there to practice repairing, because that's what's most important in our life and relationships. Then when you have an experience in the space, you check in on your real life together. You're not coming into the space like this presentation. This presentation is not that space. I am talking right now. You are having to pay attention to me. You might be spaced out. You might not be listening to me anymore. That is not what happens in our groups, right? I am using this presentation in order to inspire you, in order to save you time so we can have a deeper conversation about you on a phone call, not so that we can practice tools and skills in here. And so the key in the training is that you are actually vulnerable, because that's where real work is. When you choose to open in the group, then all of the men who are in the space get to learn to witness and to guide you, and it gets real quick. We learn together in community by witnessing, guiding, and opening with other men. And this process changes how you respond and react to the world around you. So that's it, guys. We are moving really briskly, but this is the Unshakable Man program. If this is curious to you, if this is inspiring to you, if you want to be more purposeful and powerful and present in your life and your work and your relationships, this is what you get when you sign up, okay? You get a seat in a private men's group. You get access to a 4-day-long embodied leadership retreat. You go through a 6-month embodied leadership program with a group of other men. You check in with those men for 18 times for 2 hours over 6 months. And then in between, you practice in other groups, and you get 2 private sessions with me. You get a life assessment. You get access to the program stewards and the support for support and integration. Program stewards are men who have actually been through the program, who are volunteering their time to help you move through it. All of this, everything in this program, the most important thing about it for me is that it's a relationship. This is a real physical relationship with a group of other men. That's what you're getting when you sign up for this program. And then we move through a process. I'm not going to talk about all of the stages of this process, but this is a visual of what the process is. We come in and we learn how to move through stages of purpose, power, and presence in our life over 3 months. And we go through this process 2 times in 6 months together. And we co-create this process in the space with a group of other men. When we come out the other side, we've learned something deeply meaningful and important for our life and relationships. And then we get to choose, do I want to continue creating the space and move on to actually becoming a facilitator who actually helps more men to get to experience this work, thereby practicing the skills in an even deeper way. That's how this work gets passed on. So I'm going to answer all of these questions in the Q&A round. Guys, I'd love to just bring you guys in, like right now. We've got 5 minutes to spend together here for Q&A. If anybody, we are moving briskly, and I'm feeling energized and connected and vibrant and quick right now. But I really wanted to get through this together with you guys in explicitly 1 hour. And I don't want to go over just because of having guys have extra time, having to listen to this. But I do want to just go through and answer these questions. Ben, Jim, Stephen, can you prepare what questions you might have? Like just thinking from the perspective of a man coming into the program. And then we're going to go over 5 minutes just to create some space for that after I cover these questions. So Number one, this is always the first question. How much does it cost? It's $4,500 for the entire program. That includes being in the crew for 6 months and having the retreat. If you sign up for just the retreat, it's $1,500. If you sign up for just the crew, it's $3,000. You put that together, it's $4,500. We do offer payment plans. The payment plans can be up to 6 months. And if you do need a payment plan, you can just talk to me on a program intake call. How long does it take per week? It takes at least 2 hours. You have to be able to meet with your group for 2 hours a week. Okay. This is when we say resources. These are the resources that this work takes. This is not a course. This is not something you can participate in by lurking. If you sign up and you don't show up to group, you do not get a refund. You're signing up for a group, and that group is a group. You're taking up another man's spot. This is a real group of men. When do the crews meet? The crews meet at different times during the week. We create crews around men's real schedules. So when you go to sign up, you let me know what time of the week would work for you. And if we don't have space in a crew, we ask you to pay to register for a crew, and then we will actively go out and find men to form a crew around you. That's how this works. You have to step in and commit first. Do I get one-on-one coaching? Yes, if you want one-on-one coaching on top of the program, you're welcome to do that. I am happy to give you my rates and things like that. Just ask in our program intake call. How many men are in a crew? In general, it's 6 to 12 men in a crew, but crews can be run online, can get much larger. It depends on the number of facilitators that we have during that time of the week. The most important thing is that everybody in the crew is able to feel connected to at least 3 men. That's your triad, right? It's not that every man gets a chance to speak in that time. It's that you're connected, you have actual relationships with the men in the crew. And then what happens if I miss my crew meeting? We ask that you check in with your crew facilitator, your crew leader, and you let him know what you're making in your life that's more important. If you miss meetings repeatedly without checking in, then the crew leader is going to follow up with you, and he's going to let you know that maybe being in this group is not right for you. It's going to give you a warning, okay? But you don't get a refund, all right? This is a commitment. You're showing up to this space, and if you're not there, guys are going to miss you. That's what makes this work so powerful. What happens in the group? Let's talk about that in your program intake call, okay? If you're curious, schedule a call. Let's talk about it. That's a very dynamic and deep question to ask. When and where are the retreats? We do 5 retreats a year. Right now, we do 1 a year in Montana, and the rest are outside of San Francisco. You can find the dates on our website. Boom, we did it. Exactly on the dot, 1 hour. I'd love it if you guys would all go ahead and give yourself a celebration. If you are curious to enroll in the Unshakable Man program, the Embodied Leadership Training Program for Men, the retreats, or the program to join a crew, just go to unshakableman.com program intake call, or you go to unshakableman.com and just click on the call to action there to book a program intake call. After you book your program intake call, make sure you go back and watch this presentation. You can listen to it at high speed, but it's important that you watch this presentation, because when you do, then we can save a lot of time, and I can spend all the time with you getting to know you and your challenges. Awesome, guys. It's good to be with you. Do you guys have any questions? You want to chime in on how that went?
I've got a question.
Yeah.
And forgive me if you mentioned this in the one Q&A question, because I was thinking about questions.
Yeah.
If I'm in a tricky spot financially, what are my options for signing up for the program if I really want to do it, but like I don't know if I can fully pay the full cost?
It's a great question, Ben. I love that you asked that question. So we want to do our best to make this work accessible to more men. The program cost is stated now at $4,500, right? Like that's the investment that a man needs to make. And it's the cost that it takes to be able to make this work sustainable. If you don't have the financial resources right now, we are going to ask you if you can find the financial resources. If you can't find the financial resources, this is because we do want to challenge men to really show up for themselves. But if you still can't, we have 3 community stewards who have volunteered their time to meet with men who need financial assistance. All you do is schedule your program intake call and say that you don't have the financial resources to pay for yourself to go through the program. And that will automatically let you schedule a meeting with Mike, John, or Londell. And they will spend 30 minutes with you asking you what's going on in your life. And they have the authority and the ability to discount the cost of the program. We will usually ask that you pay on a longer payment plan before we do a full discount, but we will do discounts. It's all based on our ability to operate and to grow, just so that we can be sustainable, because we don't have financial benefactors that are helping us pay for men. Great question.
I had a question. I've already been, as you know, I've been to a retreat. I feel like I'm kind of coming into this slightly backwards. Do I need to do a program intake call at this point?
Yes, and you're not coming into it backwards. It might feel that way now that you're in this presentation, which totally is understandable. But guys come into this work from 2 directions. Either they come in through a retreat and then they have a feeling of what this is. The retreat is about half the guys right now, and it will always be that way. The retreat is the thing that you can that really fits into our life to do something just really to get us out of our comfort zone, right? And so a lot of men are like you, Jim. They see the retreat, they schedule the retreat. It's a big investment of your energy, time, and resources. But then you have an experience, and then you come in and you're like, all right, now I want to be in a crew. So yeah, schedule a program intake call, and that's the opportunity for you and I to connect on where you're at and to find out what time of the week works for you. And then the stewards will help us find a place in one of the crews for you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm a little confused in that, you and I were talking yesterday online. I'm going to be in a crew on a Monday morning.
Yep.
Is that going to be different than what's going to be happening in July? Because that's like a whole new thing.
It's not going to be different. Bye, Stephen. Thanks so much for being here, man. No, so the crews are 2-hour-long men's groups that you're meeting with the same group of committed men for that session. Every season, every quarter, we start a new cohort, meaning we open up our calendars, we open up to the world, and we say, hey, if anybody wants to get started in a crew, now is the time, because it works really well to have us all start at the same time together. So when you start with the crew next Monday, it just means you're starting in the crew in the middle of the season, which is okay to do. It just means you're in the middle of this process. You see the Unshakable Man program, how we move through this process?
Right.
These are like themes that we practice in the groups in order to help us learn the skills, because you learn the skills step by step, but then once you are aware of the skills, you're doing them all at once. They become embodied. Okay,
so, and you and I have talked about this a little bit, so I don't want to belabor it, but
yep.
If I get involved in this Monday crew, as I mentioned to you before, I'm going to be gone for a good part of June.
Yep.
But that's the last traveling I'll be doing for a while. Is that an issue with this Monday morning crew?
It's another fantastic question. So when you enroll in a crew, it's $3,000 for the 6-month program, okay? Your crew, your program start date won't be till July. So the timer hasn't started on your actual program, but you're starting early, and that's just a bonus, right?
Okay.
So for you, like in that example, that it won't matter because you're getting in there, you're going to get to know the guys and you're going to get to know the process. When a man is going to be gone for like a significant portion of the cohort, I sometimes tell him to just wait to sign up, or he can sign up and communicate with the crew leader. Does that make sense? Because they're managing a real relationship, right? It's just we ask that you let the group know what you're doing, right? In terms of like financial stuff, we because of organization, we sell access to the Unshakable Man as a 6-month-long program. When it comes to getting additional time, if you have extenuating circumstances, like you're going on vacation or something like that, just communicate with us, right? And we're going to give you some extra time in there. The main key for us is we want to know when you are graduating from the program, when you've gotten your 6 months, so that we can celebrate you and we can then pass you into being, you're graduating from the program, right? And that's how we help guys become elders and start more crews.
Okay. Can you show me again where I would schedule the intake call?
Yeah, it's unshakableman.com/program intake call. I'll send you a link directly.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Awesome, guys. Thank you so much for showing up on our Embodied Leadership Training Masterclass. I hope that this was a meaningful and educational experience for you guys. And if you're new and you're listening to this, I really hope this inspires you to check us out. This work really is, it's real. I'm speaking from direct experience. Thanks, Ben. Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Stephen.